Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Earth diplomatic vessel New Hope, watching the massive council station grow larger in the viewport. The station was enormous, bigger than any human-made structure. It spun slowly in the darkness of space, its lights twinkling like stars. This was the moment humanity had waited for since first contact with alien species 10 years ago. "Amazing, isn't it?" said Ambassador David Harrison, joining Sarah at the window. "Hard to believe they're actually inviting us to join their council." Sarah nodded but felt uneasy. Something about this felt too good to be true. For 10 years, the Galactic Council had kept humanity at arm's length. They said humans were too young, too aggressive, too unpredictable. Now suddenly they wanted Earth as a member, sir. "We're getting a communication from the station," reported Lieutenant Kim from the bridge. The main screen flickered to life, showing a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms. This was Ambassador Zephyr of the Zephyrian Empire, the most powerful member of the Council. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Zephyr said with what might have been a smile. "We are honored to finally bring your species into our peaceful federation. Please dock at Base 7. The Council awaits your arrival." Admiral Marcus Torres, who had been quiet during the journey, stepped forward. "Commander Chen, I want extra security when we board that station. Something doesn't feel right about this." Sarah respected Admiral Torres. He was old-school military, careful and suspicious. But Ambassador Harrison shook his head. "Admiral, we can't appear hostile on our first day as council members. This is a diplomatic mission, not a military operation." The docking went smoothly. As they walked through the station's corridors, Sarah was amazed by what she saw. Aliens of different species worked together, their advanced technology humming quietly around them. The air was clean and fresh, better than Earth's atmosphere. Zephyr met them at the council chamber entrance. The alien was even taller in person, nearly 8 feet high. Its blue skin seemed to shimmer under the lights. "Before we begin the ceremony," Zephyr said, "we must discuss the Treaty of Ascension. This document will make Earth an official member of our council." They entered a smaller room where other council members waited. Sarah recognized some species from the history files: the insect-like hive queens, the energy beings called the Flux, and the rock-like granite people. All were ancient races that had been traveling space for thousands of years. Ambassador Harrison eagerly took the treaty datapad. "This is wonderful. Earth finally gets to join the galactic community." Admiral Torres leaned over to read the document. His face grew dark as he scrolled through the pages. "Ambassador, we need to review this more carefully. Some of these terms seem what, Admiral?" Zephyr interrupted, its 4 arms folding across its chest. "Do you not trust the Council's wisdom?" "It's not about trust," Torres replied. "It's about understanding what we're agreeing to. This section here talks about defensive limitations. Why would we need to limit our defenses?" A new alien spoke up, one of the hive queens. When it talked, thousands of smaller voices seemed to whisper together. "Young species often build too many weapons. The Council helps prevent conflicts by managing military growth. And this part about resource sharing," Torres continued, pointing at another section. "It says Earth must provide detailed information about our population, technology, and planetary resources." Zephyr waved a hand dismissively. "Standard procedure for new members. How else can we help you develop properly?" Sarah watched the exchange carefully. She noticed that whenever Admiral Torres asked questions, the council members exchanged quick glances. Their body language suggested they were annoyed by his questions. Ambassador Harrison was eager to sign. "Admiral, these beings have created a peaceful federation that has lasted thousands of years. We should be grateful they're willing to guide us." "But sir," Torres pressed, "this clause here says that council peacekeepers can be stationed on human worlds if they determine it's necessary for galactic security." "Who decides what's necessary?" "The council decides," Zephyr said firmly. "We have experience dealing with young, aggressive species. Sometimes guidance requires presence." The word aggressive bothered Sarah. Humans had fought wars, yes, but they had also shown they could make peace. They had united their own planet and begun exploring space peacefully. Why did the council keep calling them aggressive? One of the granite people spoke in a voice like grinding stones. "The human species shows promise, but promise requires proper channeling. The Treaty of Ascension ensures that channeling happens correctly." Admiral Torres looked like he wanted to argue more. But Ambassador Harrison was already reaching for the signing device. "Admiral, Earth's government has authorized me to sign this treaty. The potential benefits far outweigh any concerns. Harrison placed his hand on the scanning device, officially making Earth a council member. The council members made sounds that Sarah assumed were congratulations. Zephyr stepped forward with another device. Now we begin the integration process. This scanner will download council protocols to your ship's computer systems. It will allow you to communicate with all council networks and access our databases. As the device was connected to their ship, Sarah noticed Admiral Torres quietly activating his personal recorder. He was documenting everything, which was smart standard procedure. The process is complete, Zephyr announced. Earth is now the newest member of the Galactic Council. Your people will receive great benefits from our technology and wisdom. During the celebration feast that followed, Sarah noticed several strange things. First, the council members spoke in their own languages when they thought the humans weren't listening. Second, some of the technology around the station seemed to be scanning them constantly. Third, whenever she or Admiral Torres asked technical questions about council systems, the answers were vague or redirected. Commander, Admiral Torres whispered to her during a quiet moment, I want you to watch everything carefully. Document any unusual readings from our sensors. Sir, are you concerned about something specific? I'm concerned about everything, Torres replied. This whole situation feels like we're being evaluated rather than welcomed. Later that evening, as they prepared to return to Earth, Zephyr approached them one final time. Your ship's systems have been upgraded with council technology. You will find communication and navigation much improved. However, for safety reasons, some of your older systems have been disabled. Which systems? Torres asked immediately. Primitive weapons arrays, outdated scanning equipment, inefficient engines. The council provides much better alternatives. Sarah felt a chill. Their weapons were disabled? That seemed like an odd thing to do to a new ally. As the New Hope departed the council station, Sarah stood again at the observation deck. Earth was going to receive amazing technology and trade opportunities. Humanity would advance faster than ever before. But Admiral Torres's concerns echoed in her mind. Something about the council's behavior didn't match their welcoming words. The way they disabled human weapon systems, their constant references to human aggression, their vague answers about council protocols, it all felt wrong. Sir, she said to Torres, who had joined her at the window. What do you really think about all this? Torres was quiet for a long moment. I think, Commander, that we just walked into the most beautiful trap ever created. And I hope I'm wrong. As Earth grew larger in their viewport, Sarah wondered if Admiral Torres might be right. The Council's welcome had been perfect, perhaps too perfect. Only time would tell if humanity had just gained powerful allies or dangerous enemies who smiled while they prepared chains. 6 months had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council, and the changes were remarkable. Dr. Elena Vasquez walked through the research facility on Luna, amazed by what Council technology had made possible. Plants that had taken months to grow now flourished in weeks. Diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries were being cured with alien medicine. The terraforming equipment they gave us is incredible, her assistant Dr. Park said, showing her the latest reports. Colony World 7 now has a breathable atmosphere in just 4 months. Before Council tech, that would have taken 20 years. Elena nodded, but something nagged at her. The Council had been very generous with their gifts, but they also asked for a lot in return. Detailed genetic samples from humans, complete maps of Earth's resources, and full documentation of every piece of human technology. Dr. Vasquez. Her communication device buzzed. It was Admiral Torres calling from Earth Defense Command. Admiral, what can I do for you? Doctor, I need you to run some tests on the Council technology we've received. Specifically, I want to know if there are any hidden functions or backdoors in their systems. Elena frowned. That's a serious accusation, Admiral. The Council members have been nothing but helpful. Maybe. But helpful people don't usually ask for genetic samples from every human colony. They also don't insist on upgrading our defense systems with their technology. That was true. Over the past months, Council engineers had visited every major human military base. They claimed the upgrades would make human defenses more compatible with Council systems. But Torres had always seemed uncomfortable with the process. I'll run the tests, Elena agreed. But Admiral, what exactly are you worried about? I'm worried that we're giving away too much and getting too little in return. The Council treats us like children who need constant supervision. After the call ended, Elena began her investigation. She started with the communication systems the Council had installed. At first, everything looked normal. The technology was advanced and efficient. But when she dug deeper into the code, she found something disturbing. Hidden in the software were monitoring programs. The Council wasn't just giving humans better communication. They were watching every message, recording every conversation, and tracking every human ship. Dr. Park, look at this, she called her assistant over. These monitoring subroutines are built into the core of the Council systems. They're not bugs or accidents. They're features. Dr. Park studied the code. This is sophisticated surveillance software. Why would they need to monitor us if we're allies? Elena didn't have an answer, but she had more questions. She began examining other Council gifts. The medical equipment had similar hidden functions. The terraforming machines were sending detailed planetary data back to Council databases. Even the entertainment systems in human homes were recording conversations. Meanwhile, on Colony World 12, Captain James Rodriguez was dealing with his own concerns. His security team had noticed unusual activity around their settlement. "Captain, we've detected ships in the outer system," reported Sergeant Wilson. "They're not responding to our hails, but they're definitely watching us." Rodriguez pulled up the sensor data. 3 ships hung in space just outside their detection range, but his team's enhanced sensors could spot them. The ships had Council energy signatures. Have they been there long? Our logs show they arrived 2 weeks ago. They haven't moved or communicated, just watched. This was the 5th human colony to report mysterious Council ships nearby. Always watching, never communicating. When human commanders tried to contact the Council about these ships, they were told they were routine patrols for galactic security. Back on Earth, Admiral Torres was compiling reports from across human space. The pattern was becoming clear and disturbing. Council ships were positioning themselves near every major human colony. Council technology was monitoring human communications. Council scientists were studying human genetics with unusual interest. "Commander Chen," Torres called Sarah to his office. "I need you to see something." Sarah entered the Admiral's secure briefing room. The walls were lined with information screens showing data from across human space. "What am I looking at, sir?" "A puzzle that's starting to make sense," Torres replied grimly. "Look at these shipping records. The Council asked us to provide detailed manifests of all cargo moving between human worlds. They said it was for trade optimization." Sarah studied the data. "These show our most valuable resources, our industrial capabilities, our population centers." "Exactly. And look at this." Torres switched to another screen. "Council advisors have been placed at every major human government facility. They're always present during important meetings. You think they're spies? I think they're intelligence officers doing exactly what I would do if I wanted to take over a species without fighting a war." Sarah felt a chill. "Sir, that's a serious accusation. Are you saying the Council plans to invade us?" "I'm saying they might not need to invade if they can control us through other means." Torres pulled up another display. "Look at our defense capabilities now compared to 6 months ago." The data was shocking. Human weapon systems had been systematically replaced with Council technology. Human ships now relied on Council navigation systems. Human communication networks ran through Council servers. "Sir, if the Council wanted to disable our defenses, they could do it with a software command." Torres finished. "Every major human military system now depends on their technology." Elena's research was revealing more disturbing information. The genetic samples the Council had requested were being used for detailed biological analysis. But the analysis wasn't focused on helping humans. It was mapping human weaknesses, studying human psychology, and developing biological agents that would specifically affect human physiology. "Dr. Vasquez to Admiral Torres," she called on a secure channel. "Admiral, I found something very troubling." "What is it, Doctor?" "The Council isn't just monitoring us. They're studying us like laboratory specimens. The genetic data they requested is being used to develop biological weapons specifically designed to target humans." Torres felt his worst fears being confirmed. "Doctor, I need you to document everything and prepare a complete report. But do it quietly. If the Council discovers what we know..." "Understood, Admiral." That evening, as Torres reviewed all the evidence, the picture became clear. The Galactic Council had never intended to treat humanity as equals. They had offered membership as a way to study human capabilities, monitor human activities, and slowly take control of human space, the Treaty of Ascension. wasn't a welcome document, it was a surrender document that humanity had signed without realizing. Torres activated his most secure communication system, one that predated Council technology and couldn't be monitored by their networks. This is Admiral Torres to all senior Earth defense personnel. Prepare for Project Lighthouse. All personnel are to maintain normal operations while secretly implementing Protocol 7. Do not discuss this over any Council-provided communication systems. Project Lighthouse was Torres's contingency plan, developed before Earth had even met the Council. It was based on a simple military principle: never trust anyone completely, and always have a backup plan. As Torres sent coded messages to trusted personnel across human space, he realized that humanity was facing its greatest challenge. The Council had trapped them with kindness, gifts, and false friendship. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated human paranoia and military planning. Admiral Torres had spent decades preparing for threats, and he had never stopped preparing even after joining the Council. The question now was whether his preparations would be enough. When the Council finally revealed their true intentions, Torres suspected they wouldn't have to wait long to find out. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was called without warning. Commander Sarah Chen received the urgent message while reviewing defensive preparations at the Luna shipyard. All human representatives were ordered to report to Council Station immediately for a critical security matter. This doesn't feel right, Admiral Torres told her as they boarded the New Hope. Emergency sessions aren't normal Council procedure. They've never called one since we joined. Sarah shared his concern. For weeks, their secret investigations had revealed the Council's true nature: hidden monitoring systems, biological weapons research, spy networks, and strategic positioning of Council ships around human colonies. Everything pointed to the Council preparing to take control of humanity. Sir, should we even go? This could be a trap. Torres nodded grimly. It probably is, but we need to know what they're planning. Besides, they think we're still ignorant. Let's keep it that way until we're ready. The journey to Council Station took 18 hours. During the trip, Sarah noticed increased military traffic around the station. Ships from all Council species were arriving in large numbers. This wasn't just a political meeting. It looked like preparation for military action. Ambassador Harrison met them at the docking bay. He looked pale and shaken. Admiral, Commander, thank God you're here. Something terrible is happening. The Council says there's been a security breach. What kind of security breach? Torres asked carefully. They won't give details, but they've activated something called Emergency Protocol 9. All Council species are mobilizing their fleets. Sarah and Torres exchanged glances. Emergency Protocol 9 wasn't in any of the documents humans had been given. It was another secret the Council had kept from them. They were escorted to the main Council chamber, but this time armed guards accompanied them. The chamber itself had been rearranged. Instead of the circular arrangement that suggested equality, the Council members now sat on a raised platform while humans were directed to chairs on the lower level. Ambassador Zephyr stepped forward, but the friendly attitude from their first meeting was gone. The alien's forearms were crossed and its blue skin seemed darker. Members of the human species, Zephyr announced formally, the Council has made a disturbing discovery. Intelligence reports indicate that your species has been secretly developing weapon systems and conducting military preparations. Admiral Torres kept his expression neutral, but Sarah could see tension in his jaw. How much did the Council know about Project Lighthouse? Furthermore, Zephyr continued, analysis of human behavior patterns indicates aggressive tendencies that pose a threat to galactic peace. The Council has determined that immediate intervention is necessary. One of the Hive Queens began speaking in its multiple voices. The Treaty of Ascension includes provisions for Council oversight when member species display dangerous behaviors. These provisions are now being activated. Sarah felt her heart racing. This was it, the trap was closing. What exactly are you saying? Ambassador Harrison asked, his voice shaking. A granite person answered with its grinding voice. The human species is being reclassified from full member to probationary status. Council peacekeepers will assume administrative control of all human colonies and military installations until your species demonstrates proper behavioral modification. The words hit like physical blows. Administrative control meant occupation. Behavioral modification meant slavery. Admiral Torres stood slowly. And if we refuse this reclassification? Refusal is not an option, Zephyr replied coldly. Council fleets are already moving toward human space. Your defense systems will be deactivated remotely to prevent unnecessary conflict. This transition will be peaceful if you cooperate. Sarah realized the full scope of the betrayal. The Council had spent months positioning their forces, installing backdoors in human technology, and studying human weaknesses. They had planned this takeover from the moment they invited Earth to join. You planned this from the beginning, Torres said quietly. Young species always require guidance, the Flux representative said, its energy form pulsing with what might have been amusement. Your species showed too much independence, too much innovation. Left unchecked, humans would eventually challenge the established order. Zephyr activated a holographic display showing human space. Council fleets were positioned around every major human colony. Red indicators showed where Council forces were already landing. As we speak, peacekeeping forces are securing human installations. Your advanced weapon systems are being deactivated through the backdoors in Council technology. Resistance will only result in unnecessary casualties. Ambassador Harrison slumped in his chair. We trusted you. We thought you were our allies. We are your guides, the Hive Queen replied. Species that cannot govern themselves require supervision. This is for your own good and for galactic stability. Admiral Torres stepped forward, his military bearing unchanged despite the circumstances. There's just one problem with your plan. What problem? Zephyr asked, seeming genuinely curious. You made the same mistake that every enemy has made when facing humans. You assumed we're stupid. Before anyone could respond, Torres activated a small device he had concealed in his uniform. It was a burst transmitter using pre-Council technology that couldn't be jammed by Council systems. Execute Prometheus Protocol, he spoke into the device. All assets, all targets, full authorization. Zephyr's forearms moved toward weapon controls. But Torres continued speaking. While you were busy installing your surveillance equipment and studying our genetics, we were studying you. Every piece of technology you gave us was reverse engineered. Every Council ship that visited human space was carefully scanned. Every advisor you placed with our governments was watched and analyzed. The main display screen flickered and changed. Instead of showing Council forces triumphant, it now displayed something that made every Council member step backward. Human fleets were emerging from concealment throughout the galaxy. Ships that had supposedly been scrapped were revealing advanced weapon systems. Stations that appeared to be mining operations were showing military configurations. You see, the thing about humans, Torres continued calmly, is that we're naturally paranoid. We plan for betrayal even from our closest friends, especially from beings who keep calling us aggressive while positioning fleets around our homes. Sarah watched the display in amazement. Dozens of human fleets were appearing on sensors throughout Council space. How had Admiral Torres hidden so many ships and installations? Impossible, Zephyr hissed. Our intelligence showed no significant human military presence. Your intelligence showed exactly what we wanted it to show, Torres replied. Did you really think we'd put all our defenses in systems you could monitor and control? Every major human colony has secondary installations you never knew about. Every Council gift was examined and improved before we installed it. The display showed more devastating information. Human forces were not just defending, they were attacking. Council installations throughout the galaxy were going dark as human ships systematically eliminated Council military capabilities. But your systems, the granite person ground out, we disabled your weapons. You disabled the weapons you knew about, Sarah said, finally understanding the full scope of Torres's planning. The Admiral never trusted you completely. Every critical system had backups you never detected. Admiral Torres smiled grimly. Did you know that humans developed nuclear weapons before we ever left our planet? We've had thousands of years to think about how to kill things efficiently. Your technology just made us better at it. Alarms began blaring throughout Council Station. The Flux representative's energy form was flickering with what could only be panic. This is impossible. Your species is young, primitive. You cannot match our combined fleets. You're right, Torres agreed. We can't match your fleets. That's why we're not trying to match them. We're destroying them. The screen showed the devastating reality. Human forces weren't engaging in honorable battle. They were using surprise, superior tactics, and weapons specifically designed to counter Council technology. Council fleets that had been prepared to peacefully occupy human worlds were being systematically annihilated. "The thing is," Torres said as explosions began rocking Council Station itself, "humans don't just plan for war. We plan for total war. When someone betrays us, we don't just fight back. We make sure they never betray anyone ever again." Sarah felt a mixture of pride and horror as she watched the display. Admiral Torres hadn't just prepared defenses, he had prepared for the complete destruction of Council power. "Commander Chen," Torres said formally, "please signal the fleet. Operation Lighthouse is now Operation Prometheus. Show them what happens when someone tries to enslave humanity." The Battle of Council Station began with a silence that made everyone's ears ring. Admiral Torres had given his order, and now the galaxy would learn what happened when humans were pushed too far. Commander Sarah Chen activated the communication system on her personal device. Unlike the Council-monitored networks, this was a quantum-encrypted channel that connected directly to Admiral Torres's secret command structure. "Prometheus Control. This is Lightning 1, Authorization Charlie 77. Execute all operations immediately." The response came from Admiral Torres's hidden command center on Earth's moon. "Lightning 1, this is Prometheus Control. All assets are green. Beginning systematic elimination of Council infrastructure. Time to target destruction. 4 hours." On the main display, Council Station sensors showed the impossible. Human fleets were appearing throughout the galaxy like ghosts becoming solid. Ships that had been listed as decommissioned in Council databases were revealing weapon systems more advanced than anything the Council possessed. Ambassador Zephyr's blue skin had turned almost white. "Where did these ships come from?" "Our intelligence showed human fleet strength at less than 200 vessels." "Your intelligence was wrong," Admiral Torres replied calmly. "Humans have been building ships in secret locations since before we joined your council. We just made sure you never found them." The display showed the devastating truth. Earth's real fleet numbered over 3,000 vessels, all hidden in locations the Council had never detected. Asteroid mining operations that were actually shipyards, research stations that were actually weapons development facilities, trade convoys that were actually military supply lines. "But the resources?" The Hive Queen buzzed frantically. "We monitored all human resource extraction." "You cannot build fleets without materials," Sarah smiled grimly. "You monitored what we wanted you to monitor. Humans are very good at hiding things. We've been practicing for thousands of years." Dr. Elena Vasquez's voice came through the communication system from her secret laboratory. "Admiral, the biological countermeasures are ready. Every Council species' genetic weaknesses have been mapped and corresponding agents developed." Torres nodded. "Distribute them to all tactical teams. Non-lethal initially, we want surrender, not genocide. But make sure Council forces understand we have lethal options available." The granite person made sounds like crushing stone. "Biological weapons are forbidden by galactic law. So is enslaving species through deception," Torres replied. "Besides, these aren't weapons yet. They're just medical treatments that happen to make Council species very uncomfortable until they stop fighting." On Colony World 7, Captain Rodriguez watched with satisfaction as Council ships that had been monitoring his settlement suddenly found themselves surrounded by human vessels that had emerged from hidden bases in the asteroid belt. "Council ships, this is Captain Rodriguez of the 7th Colonial Defense Force. You have exactly 1 minute to surrender before we demonstrate our new anti-Council weapon systems." The Council ships tried to activate their superior shielding technology, but it failed immediately. Human computer specialists had spent months studying Council systems and developing specific countermeasures. "Impossible," came the reply from the Council commander. "Our shields cannot be penetrated by primitive human weapons." "You're right," Rodriguez agreed. "Good thing we're not using primitive weapons anymore." The human ships fired once. The Council vessels' shields collapsed, their weapons powered down, and their life support systems began failing. But rather than destroying the ships, the human weapons simply disabled them completely. "Council forces, you are now powerless and helpless," Rodriguez announced. "Surrender immediately and you will be treated according to human rules of war. Continue resistance and we will demonstrate more permanent solutions." Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Human forces had revealed themselves simultaneously at every Council military installation, every Council colony, and every Council fleet position. The coordination was perfect because Admiral Torres had been planning this response for years. On Council Station, The alien leaders watched their empire crumble in real time. Every council ship was either destroyed or disabled. Every council military base was under attack by human forces that seemed to know exactly where to strike for maximum damage. "How long have you been planning this?" Zephyr asked, its voice barely a whisper. "Since the day before we signed your treaty," Torres replied. "The moment I read those terms, I knew you were planning to betray us. So I began preparing our response." The display showed human forces advancing on the Zephyrian homeworld, but instead of the massive fleet action the Council expected, only 12 human ships approached the planet. 12 ships against our home fleet of 300? Zephyr seemed confused. "Your forces will be destroyed. Watch," Torres said simply. The 12 human ships fired exactly once each. The Zephyrian home fleet simply stopped functioning. 300 advanced warships became powerless hulks floating in space. "What weapon can do that?" The Flux representative pulsed frantically. "A weapon specifically designed to counter your technology," Sarah answered. "While you were studying our genetics to make weapons against us, we were studying your technology to make weapons against you." Dr. Vasquez's research had been crucial. By analyzing every piece of Council technology, human scientists had discovered the fundamental principles that made Council systems work. Then they had developed weapons that could disrupt those principles. "The thing about technology," Torres explained, "is that the more advanced it becomes, the more complex it becomes. And complex systems have more ways to fail if you know how to exploit them." Human ships throughout the galaxy were demonstrating this principle. Council vessels that had seemed invincible were being disabled by weapons that targeted their technological dependencies. Council stations that had operated for thousands of years were going dark as human cyber warfare specialists shut down their core systems. "Admiral Torres to all Council forces." Torres broadcast on all frequencies. "This is your final warning. Surrender immediately and unconditionally or face total annihilation. You have deceived humanity for the last time." The responses came quickly. Council fleets across the galaxy were surrendering rather than face complete destruction. The few that tried to continue fighting found themselves overwhelmed by human forces that seemed to anticipate their every move. "How do you know our tactics so well?" the Hive Queen demanded. "Because we studied you," Torres replied. "Every Council advisor who visited Earth was observed and analyzed. Every Council ship that came to human space was scanned completely. Every piece of Council history and military doctrine was examined by our best strategists." Sarah realized the full scope of what Admiral Torres had accomplished. While the Council thought they were studying humanity, Torres had been conducting his own intelligence operation. Human spies, human sensors, and human analysis had mapped every aspect of Council military capability. "You turned our own methods against us," Zephyr said with what might have been admiration. "We improved your methods," Torres corrected. "Humans are very good at taking existing ideas and making them better. We took your surveillance techniques and made them more effective. We took your deception strategies and made them more convincing. We took your military planning and made it more thorough." The communication system crackled with reports from across the galaxy. Human forces had achieved complete victory in less than 6 hours. The Council's military power was destroyed, their fleets were captured or eliminated, and their government installations were under human control. "Council Station to Admiral Torres," came a transmission from the station's command center. "Human forces have secured all critical systems. The station is under your control." Torres stood and walked to the Council members who had tried to enslave his species. "You made one critical error in your planning," he told them. "You assumed that because humans are young, we are weak. You assumed that because we seemed trusting, we are naive. You assumed that because we appeared cooperative, we are easy to control." He gestured to the display showing human forces victorious throughout the galaxy. Humans survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed most species. We didn't survive by being weak or naive or easy to control. We survived by being smarter, tougher, and more determined than anything that tried to kill us. Sarah watched the Council members realize that their ancient empire had been destroyed by a species they had considered primitive children. Now, Admiral Torres continued, "We're going to discuss the terms of your surrender." 2 days after the Battle of Council Station, Admiral Torres stood in what had been the Council chamber. The circular seating arrangement was gone, replaced by a simple table where he could face the former Council members directly. They sat under guard, their once proud bearing replaced by the posture of defeated enemies. Commander Sarah Chen watched from nearby as Torres opened a data tablet containing humanity's terms. The galaxy had been turned upside down in less than a week, and now it was time to build something new from the ruins. Before we discuss terms, Torres began, I want you to understand something. Humanity didn't want this war. We would have been happy to join your council as true equals, to share technology and knowledge peacefully. You forced this outcome through your deception and attempted enslavement. Ambassador Zephyr's blue skin had grown pale during captivity. What do you intend to do with us? That depends on you, Torres replied. The age of the Galactic Council is over. What replaces it will be determined by how you respond to reality. Sarah activated a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. Human forces controlled every major council installation, but they weren't behaving like typical conquerors. Instead of enslaving populations or looting resources, human administrators were maintaining order and providing humanitarian aid. Your first option, Torres continued, is continued resistance. If any council species attempts to rebuild military forces or organize against human authority, we will respond with complete annihilation. Not occupation, annihilation. Your homeworlds will be reduced to pre-spaceflight technology levels, and your species will spend the next 1,000 years rebuilding from scratch. The granite person made grinding sounds of protest. You cannot destroy entire civilizations. That would be genocide. No, Torres corrected calmly. Genocide would be killing your populations. We're talking about destroying your ability to threaten anyone ever again. Your people would live, but your military power would be permanently eliminated. To demonstrate his point, Torres activated another display showing the Zephyrian homeworld. Human ships surrounded the planet, their weapons trained on every major industrial center. The Zephyrian Empire has refused our initial surrender terms, Torres announced. They believe their home defenses can resist human forces. They are about to learn otherwise. The display showed human ships firing precisely targeted beams at the planet's surface. But instead of destroying cities, the weapons eliminated only military installations, weapons factories, and spaceship construction facilities. Within minutes, the Zephyrian Empire's ability to build or maintain a fleet was completely destroyed. Your military infrastructure has been reduced to scrap metal, Torres informed Zephyr. Your people are unharmed, but your ability to wage war is gone forever. This is what happens to species that resist the new order. The other council members watched in horror as the most powerful empire in the galaxy was reduced to helplessness in minutes. Your second option, Torres continued, is cooperation with the new galactic government. Species that accept human authority and demonstrate peaceful behavior will be allowed to maintain their technology and way of life under human supervision. The Hive Queen's multiple voices buzzed frantically. You mean to rule the galaxy yourself? Not rule, Sarah interjected. Guide, just like you claimed you wanted to do with humanity. The difference is that we actually mean it. Torres nodded to Sarah, then addressed the council members again. The human accord will replace the Galactic Council. Each species will govern itself internally, but military forces will be limited and monitored. No species will be allowed to threaten another. No species will be allowed to deceive others into false alliances for the purpose of conquest. And who decides what constitutes a threat? The Flux representative pulsed. Humanity decides, Torres stated flatly. We've proven we can defeat any combination of galactic forces. We've proven we can detect deception and respond appropriately. Most importantly, we've proven we can show restraint even in total victory. That last point was crucial. Human forces could have exterminated every council species, but they had chosen not to. Even during the heat of battle, human commanders had prioritized capturing enemies rather than killing them. Dr. Elena Vasquez entered the chamber carrying a data tablet with her research findings. Admiral, I've completed the analysis of Council genetic manipulation programs. Torres gestured for her to continue. The Council has been conducting illegal biological weapons research on at least 40 different species, including humanity. They have developed diseases, toxins, and genetic modification, techniques designed to control or eliminate species they considered threats. The council members shifted uncomfortably as their darkest secrets were revealed. This research will be completely destroyed, Torres announced. Any scientist who participated in these programs will face trial under human justice systems. Any government that authorized these programs will be held accountable. You have no authority to try us, Zephyr protested. We have the authority of victory, Sarah replied simply. You tried to enslave humanity through deception. You failed. Now you face the consequences. Torres activated a communication system connecting to human fleets throughout the galaxy. Status report from all sectors. The responses came quickly. Sector 7 secure. All council installations under human control. Sector 12 pacified. Local populations cooperating with transition government. Sector 20 complete. Former council leadership in custody awaiting trial. In less than a week, humanity had accomplished what no species in galactic history had achieved. The complete conquest of an empire spanning thousands of star systems. How did you coordinate such a massive operation? The Hive Queen asked, seeming genuinely curious despite their situation. Practice, Torres replied. Humans have been fighting wars on multiple continents simultaneously for thousands of years. We understand logistics, coordination, and strategic planning better than species that relied on overwhelming technological advantage. Sarah pulled up another display showing the new galactic order taking shape. Human administrators were working with local populations to establish peaceful governments. Former council weapons were being destroyed or converted to peaceful purposes. Trade routes were being restored under human protection. The difference between human rule and council rule, Sarah explained, is that we're actually trying to create peace and prosperity for everyone. You were only interested in maintaining your own power. 3 months later, the transformation was complete. The Galactic Council was formally dissolved and replaced by the Human Accord. Member species retained their autonomy, but operated under strict rules designed to prevent deception, aggression, and exploitation. Commander Chen, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the bridge of the flagship New Hope as it patrolled the galactic core. The old council station had been converted into the Human Accord headquarters, where representatives from dozens of species worked together under human oversight. Admiral Chen, her communications officer, reported, "We're receiving a message from the former council members. They're requesting a meeting." Sarah authorized the transmission. Ambassador Zephyr appeared on screen, looking older and more humble than before. Admiral Chen, on behalf of the former council species, I want to formally acknowledge human authority over galactic affairs. We also want to apologize for our deception and attempted conquest of your species. Sarah studied Zephyr's expression. The alien seemed genuinely regretful, but she remained cautious. Humans had learned not to trust too easily. Apology noted, Ambassador. What do you want? We want to know how long human oversight will continue. When will our species be trusted to govern ourselves again? Sarah considered the question carefully. Trust is earned through actions, not words. When your species demonstrate that you can coexist peacefully without threatening others, restrictions will be reduced. Some species have already begun that process. Indeed, several former council species had embraced the new order and were working cooperatively with human administrators. Others remained resentful and required closer supervision. The galaxy is safer now than it has been in thousands of years, Sarah continued. Wars between species have stopped. Exploitation of weaker civilizations has ended. Scientific knowledge is being shared freely instead of hoarded for military advantage. This is what peace actually looks like. As the New Hope continued its patrol, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this point. They had started as naive newcomers eager to join the galactic community. They had survived betrayal and attempted enslavement through careful planning and superior execution. Now humanity stood as the guardian of galactic peace. Not through conquest, but through the complete defeat of those who had threatened that peace. The galaxy had learned a simple lesson. Deceive humanity at your own peril. Humanity, in turn, had learned to trust carefully, but respond decisively when that trust was broken. In the end, both lessons would serve to create a more peaceful and prosperous galaxy for all species willing to embrace genuine cooperation over deception and conquest.